Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Brad, here with Doug.
Hi.
I was really excited to play Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and I was actually surprised that Doug was on top of this as well, because I know you didn't care for the first one.
No,
but you
I
jumped right in on
do
this.
not like the first one.
You jumped right in on this like day of release, which I was actually surprised, because I think I texted you, I was like, oh man, Ori's on. You're like, yeah, I'm playing it, and I was like, what the hell?
I mean, I wouldn't give me too much credit. It was just on Game Pass. It was just the latest thing on Game Pass. And PC Game Pass is its pickings are a little slim.
Well, anyway, I absolutely loved Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I know Doug had kind of the opposite take on this. Not as big of a fan, but again...
like it?
I mean, okay. What would you say your take on it is then? And that right there is where I'm saying we have opposite tastes, because I will instantly jump in and say I loved this game. It's fantastic. And it definitely has it has its moments, but it's a really good game. And just the first thing, and this is the same with the first Ori, is just it is strikingly beautiful when you turn this thing on. Just characters, environments, everything about this just is gorgeous.
I think the last game I played that was similar to this was like Hollow Knight. I'm just like, oh my god, if Hollow Knight looked like this, holy shit.
Which is great, because we have opposite takes on Hollow Knight too, which are
true.
Conveniently reversed from this. So let's be an interesting side conversation. But anyway, with this, the game picks up pretty much right at the end of the first one. It tries.
Which I had a Wikipedia. Like,
there you go. But it really tries to hit a lot of emotional notes with the family and kind of you guys coming together to build this forest and what's going on there. It has some really, I thought the cutscenes really were well done and kind of getting you connected with these characters, building you in right away. It begins with one of the characters kind of being separated from the rest, and you have to go and find them, and just the way that it's set up, and it kind of shows you evolving for a little bit at the beginning, just really, I think, puts some motivation, like, oh man, I gotta go find this guy. Like, it really makes that connection really strong, which I think is a great way to start this game. And you're smiling because
I did not emotionally connect with those characters at all. All I saw was the developer going, aren't these characters so cute and innocent? Wouldn't it be horrible if something happened to them? And it's just like every time. It's just like,
which is all it does
is just like, it's just like, how cute and innocent are these characters? And like, okay, let's just do something really bad to them or something like that. It's weird though, because the way the story is told, and I'm going to make a sound of how it sound of like what the animation was. It's like, ha 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 ha. It's like this like really weird, like ethereal sort of like movement of the characters, and they're going from scene to scene, and it's sad, and it's just like not into it. And the thing is, like, I'm usually into it. It's just like, it just felt like they try to make these characters just seem like so innocent and so adorable, like just to make those emotional notes hit harder. I'm being really mean about this. It's fine.
See, and all of that works.
I like the
for
big
me.
frog guy.
Some of us aren't cynical, cold-hearted assholes, but anyway.
It's too much. It's too much. Just be a cute kids game. Why can't you just be a cute kids game? Like, why do you have to be so, I don't know, dramatic?
Because it's the darkness in the forest got to him, and it was pulling him apart.
Yeah. It's just the story of light versus dark. That's what it is. Yeah.
To be very reductive, yes. But anyway, so moving away from the story, the biggest thing with this game that I think the biggest change is the combat.
Yes.
They definitely stepped it up from the first one. The first one, I just remember kind of like there wasn't much, and every time there was, I was just kind of like, oh crap, I gotta deal with this again. Whereas this was
thumb hurting. You're like tapping the button a lot in the original one, like, like tap 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 tap. It's just not.
It just didn't work, and that was kind of the drawback of the first one, where it's one of those where it's like, oh, this all works so well, but the combat's just not there, and you can tell they really took that to heart, because the combat in this is just it's fantastic. It's you get different abilities, the basics with your sword, just it feels really good. Bosses were new in this as well. There were some really cool bosses with different stages. Anytime there's a good different stage boss fight, always works really, really well.
Animation on the bosses was insane too. All the boss fights were just like absolutely insane looking. They were so cool.
Yeah, every single one of them had that moment where you're just like, this is so cool. That looks so good. Like, that's such a cool movement for it to make. And then just the transitions between stages for a lot of them, where It puts in those chase scenes that the first game did really well. Those are really well done here. And again, they use those almost as transition points to, you knocked half the boss's health. All right, here's the chase scene. Okay, we're in a different arena where those movements and those attacks that the boss has is going to change up just a little bit just because of the different environment we're in. And just that whole thing fits so well together.
Yeah, I think that the chases, I think the thing that like really, really, really works well with the chases is because the camera is really pulled back most of the time, which is like, it's kind of, I don't like it like when I'm trying to get through like a jumpy section, but it's kind of really neat when they're trying to show something like epic and big because your character feels so small. And that's like in those chase scenes, it's like, that's where like ultimately like, that's where they're the best at it because your character seems so small. And it's funny because I feel like a lot of games where it's like, should I fight this character or should I run? And this one, it's like, I should run. Like, I never like, I'm going to fight this guy. It's like, no, I got to get my ass out of here sort of thing. And
it does a cool job even with the boss fights that this adds in, where your first instinct is to like, I got to get away from this guy. And it's like, no, good luck. You're fighting. Yeah. Enjoy. Good luck.
And even the good guys are really big too. It's like, you're just very small compared to everything. And it's like kind of, it's just really fun seeing that.
Yeah. Which ties in a little bit with the story as well of what you are versus what everything else is. So you didn't care for this game. And I can already tell, I know why, because there were a few points where I didn't care for this game because this game does have some very frustrating moments and some very frustrating mechanics.
I think the first half of the game is like just pure excellence. I think the first half of the game is so good because you can get into besides what we were talking about how the combat feels good, just the general movement feels good. And in those earlier sections, because the platforming is a little bit easier, like the hop, slash, hop, do, it feels so good and you feel like such a pro at it. But then the game just gets like a little more complicated to the point where it feels like the mechanics aren't really keeping up with what's going on. And there's certain scenes, because I had so much health, it wasn't clear to me if I was like just sloppily getting through it the incorrect way, but I would still get through it because of all the like iframes, like the iframes, like when you get hit, like you have like a little bit of time to recover. So just kind of like sloppily going through sections. Like, well, in the earlier game was like hop, like I felt like I was doing the right thing. And like the latter half of the game was just like, I don't feel like I'm doing this right. Like I'm just like barely hanging on kind of thing. And that's kind of where I started to fall off. And I'm not sure if that's totally different than what you're experiencing.
No, I think that's the same part. There's one or two combat scenes where you just kind of have that like, is this the best way to handle this enemy, or am I missing something? Is there an ability I should be using that I'm not realizing? Is there some weakness this thing has? Because I focus a lot on just, honestly, I think I just brute forced my way with the sword 90% of this game and didn't really bother with any of the other abilities when you're going into combat. And there's obviously a few other things, and there's some stacking you can do with, I don't remember what they're called, the little like button things you get. You can put in little different
the Hollow Knight things. That's straight from Hollow Knight.
This game takes a lot from Hollow Knight, but it was one of those where it's like, I don't feel like, do I have those not arranged? Like, is there something? The back half does kind of give you this feeling of it wants to have this really deep combat system with different abilities and everything, and I just never quite got the feeling that I was doing it right.
Sure. Yeah. It's weird because like the timing of it's weird. Like a guy will like if you have like a 5 hit combo, he'll hit you on like your third hit unless you like dodge out. It's like really straight. The rhythm's a little bit weird. Yeah. And the thing that kind of really I didn't like about the back half is like when you're kind of, you basically can go to like different, let's say worlds, for just to make it simple. There's like a single driving mechanic in that world. And if you're not having fun with that mechanic, you're just not going to have fun for the next 2 hours. And then there's like maybe 2 worlds, and like I'm not going to ruin the mechanic, but the mechanics like just weren't fun. So for like a large portion of the last half of the game, which is like, I don't like this mechanic, I have to deal with this mechanic for 2 hours. Okay. Oh great, I get to move to a new area. Oh no, it has a new mechanic I don't like. And now I'm stuck with this doing this mechanic. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that Metroidvanias like this could kind of fall into, is because you depend so much on this area is because you got X, you can do this area. You have to use X so much, because I had the same thing. There were those two for me as well that just stand out. And I'm just like, those 2 areas suck, and I never want to see them again. And I was terrified I was going to have to go back in and like, oh, am I going to have to try that area again? Am I going to have to use that again? What's going to go on with that? And it just it kind of takes you out of it, because you go from having that enjoyment, because it does feel so good to play, of exploring everything, to just going like, all right, what's the quickest path through this area so I don't have to use whatever it is. One of the ones that frustrated me is there's one that plays a lot with light and dark, so you've got to kind of light up areas, and it's almost frustrating because it feels like you have to trial and error your way through a few different parts to really figure out which path to take.
Yeah, it felt like it just felt not fun. Like I would say, like the early part of the game, like there are challenging parts of it, but it felt fun. And then suddenly it just kind of tipped in like the back half, and it just like stopped being fun for me. It wasn't bad, and that's the thing. It's like it's not a bad game. It's still like a really good game. I enjoyed it. I would say like my overall time with it, I like definitely enjoyed it because of all the things we've been talking about. But there was just like sort of like tip in the scale near the back half where it's just like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say I wasn't having fun with it. There's two sections very specifically that I was not having fun. But in general, I think it was more of it was almost more that disappointment of like, I'm not hating this, but it's just not the good stuff that I had before. Yeah. It was never a like, ugh, this isn't fun. Like, what do I have to like, all right, how do I get through this? It's more of just like, all right, this isn't as good as last part. Let me just barrel through this because I know there's going to be something better afterwards.
Sure, yeah. There's one thing to end on, kind of move on to a positive note. Something I really enjoyed that I don't think you touched was the town. Did you do that at all or no?
I did it like twice. Like when I had to go through the town, I was like, oh yeah, I grabbed some of those stuff. Let me give that back to those guys.
Oh my gosh, I thought the town was brilliant. I thought the town was so good.
It's a cool idea.
So real quick. The thing I thought that was brilliant is, so there's this town and you have to give resources to this town to build up the town. And the thing that they did that was so smart was that the currency you use to build up the town is a different currency than you have to build up any of your EXP or any of your character building at all. So you never had to, I don't like it. Well, I don't know if I don't like it entirely. I just don't particularly enjoy it when I'm choosing between like, am I going to get my character a better punch or help the townspeople? I'm getting my better punch. Before I help the townspeople. But in this one, it's like, I didn't have to make that choice. It's just like, this item benefits the town. I was like, okay, I'll go help the town. And I like the character. I thought the characters were kind of fun and like cute. And they had good lines. I love the way they talk. It's very similar to like Animal Crossing or Shadow of the Colossus or Hollow Knight. And the way like their little like jibber jabberness was just really, really, really good. Really enjoyed that. And I like the characters a lot in the game. I thought the characters were fun. Yeah.
Good dialogue in the good dialogue in the parts that had some really good dialogue in it. And just the characters all had a good personality. Every character felt a little bit different. There were characters that kind of recur throughout the game that pop up in different places that I thought were always really well used. Just a really good simple game that I think just had one or two bits where it was just like you didn't quite nail this one section.
I think it's more noticeable because the sections they do nail, it's like, oh, this is the best playing platformer I've ever played in my life. Oh, yeah. And as soon as it wavers from that, it's like, well, this game isn't good anymore. It's like, I'm obviously like, being, whatever about it, but it is interesting. It's like, because it feels so good that if it's soon as like you automatically become a little bit more judgmental of the sections that don't quite work as well, just because everything else prior worked so well. And I think that's kind of where I'm at with the game.
I think that's a good analogy. I think to end it on, where this game, it feels like a 10. It feels like a 10. It's like, oh, that's like an 8.5. Man, I'm disappointed right now. I mean, like, oh, it's back to 10. Ooh, this feels like something out of a game that's a 9. Like, really, like, this is pathetic. And it's just like you have those high standards set because the first couple hours are just so well executed that just when you get to those parts, you're like, I know you can do better. I'm sorry. I'm not angry. Just disappointed. Like, you could do better.
Yeah. I did like the ending. I'll say that. I like the ending. As much as I was harping on like story stuff, I like the ending. I thought the ending was pretty solid.
Ending's great. Yeah, I love the ending. The ending goes a way that I didn't quite see it going, and just does a really good job, I think, of encapsulating the story of both games into a really, really well done final scene.
Yeah, it's cool. Good game.
And that is our final scene. So we are Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us wherever you're listening, and we will see you later.
Bye.